Imagine a cold December morning in 1917. The port of Halifax, Nova Scotia, is bustling. It's a critical hub for Allied shipping during World War I, a city buzzing with energy, both human and electrical. Trams crisscross the streets, lights hum in homes and businesses, and the telegraph lines are alive with messages. This city, powered by the marvel of early 20th century electricity, is about to be plunged into darkness and chaos by an event of unimaginable scale. This is the story of the Halifax Explosion and the catastrophic power failure that followed. It's not just about a city losing its lights. It's about how a community, stripped of its modern conveniences in its darkest hour, found a way to endure. Let's set the scene. It's December 6, 1917. Halifax is a city on the rise. The Halifax Electric Tramway Company, founded just a few decades earlier, is the lifeblood of the city's infrastructure. It operates the streetcar system that gets thousands of people to work, and it also runs the city's electrical grid. Power plants on Water Street are generating the electricity that lights up homes, powers factories, and keeps the city connected through telegraph and telephone lines. Electricity wasn't a luxury anymore. It was essential. Out in the harbor, a narrow strait called the Narrows, two ships are on a collision course. One is the SS Imo, a Norwegian relief ship. The other is the SS Mont Blanc, a French cargo vessel. But the Mont Blanc isn't carrying ordinary cargo. It's a floating bomb loaded to the brim with high explosives, picric acid, TNT, gun cotton, and benzol. It's heading into the harbor to join a convoy. Its deadly contents a secret to almost everyone in the city. At 8:45 a.m., a series of miscommunications and navigational errors leads to disaster. The IMO strikes the Mont Blanc. It's not a major collision initially, but it's enough to spark a fire on the French ship's deck. Barrels of benzol ignite. The crew, knowing the catastrophe that is about to unfold, abandons ship and rows desperately for the Dartmouth shore, shouting warnings that no one on the Halifax side can understand. The burning ship drifts towards Pier 6 on the Halifax waterfront. Crowds gather to watch the spectacle. Firefighters, including the city's first motorized fire engine, the Patricia, race to the scene. No one knows the true danger. They think it's just a ship fire. At 9:04 and 35 seconds a.m., the Mont Blanc detonates. It is the largest man-made explosion the world has ever seen, a title it would hold until the atomic age. The force is cataclysmic. A pressure wave radiates outwards at supersonic speeds, leveling everything in a half-mile radius. Buildings disintegrate. A tsunami swamps the shoreline. The blast is heard hundreds of miles away. In an instant, the electrical heart of Halifax is ripped out. The main power plant on Water Street, located perilously close to the explosion site, is obliterated. Its massive brick smokestack collapses. Boilers rupture. Generators are torn from their foundations. The intricate web of overhead power lines and telephone wires that crisscross the city is vaporized or torn down by the blast wave and flying debris. Thousands of wooden utility poles splinter like matchsticks. The city is plunged into a sudden, eerie silence, broken only by the sounds of destruction and human suffering. The electric trams, a symbol of Halifax's modernity, stop dead in their tracks, their overhead lines gone. Inside homes, the lights go out and stay out. The telegraph office, the city's connection to the outside world, is destroyed. The telephone exchange is a wreck of tangled wires and broken switchboards. For the survivors, the darkness is absolute. The explosion created a cloud of smoke and debris that blocked out the morning sun, casting a grim twilight over the ruins. Imagine stumbling through the wreckage of your own neighborhood, surrounded by the injured and the dying, with no light to see by, no way to call for help, no information about what just happened. This wasn't just a power outage, it was a complete severance of the systems that held society together. One of the most heroic stories from this moment is that of Vince Coleman, a railway dispatcher. From his telegraph office near the waterfront, he saw the burning Mont Blanc and learned of its deadly cargo. He knew an inbound passenger train was due to arrive any minute. With the explosion imminent, he stayed at his post, tapping out a final, desperate message on the telegraph line. "Hold up the train. Ammunition ship afire in harbor, making for Pier 6 and will explode. Guess this will be my last message. Goodbye, boys." Coleman's message was one of the last to get out before the lines went dead. He saved the lives of the 300 people on that train, but he was killed in the blast. His sacrifice highlights just how critical that electrical connection was. It was the only way to warn the outside world. With Halifax cut off, the first news of the disaster reached the rest of Canada and the world through patchwork reports. Railway telegraph lines further down the track were still active, and operators pieced together the fragments of information to understand the scale of the tragedy. Help was on its way, but for the people in Halifax, the first hours were a lonely, terrifying ordeal. The immediate aftermath was a struggle for survival in a powerless world. Rescuers worked in the growing darkness, using lanterns and makeshift torches to search for survivors trapped in the rubble. Hospitals were overwhelmed, and surgeons were forced to perform life-saving operations by candlelight or the faint glow of oil lamps. Without electricity, there were no X-rays, no sterilization equipment, and no modern surgical lighting. And then things got worse. The day after the explosion, a massive blizzard hit the city, burying the ruins under more than a foot of snow. The lack of power now became a life-or-death struggle against the cold. With no electricity to power furnaces, and with countless homes destroyed or having their windows blown out, people were at risk of freezing. Temporary shelters were set up in the few sturdy buildings left standing, but keeping thousands of displaced and injured people warm was a monumental task. The restoration of power became a top priority, not for convenience, but for survival. Crews from the Halifax Electric Tramway Company, many of whom had lost their own homes and families, began the painstaking work of rebuilding the grid. They were joined by linemen and engineers who rushed to Halifax from across Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and even from as far away as Montreal and Boston. The task was daunting. They weren't just repairing a few downed lines. They were reconstructing an entire electrical system from scratch. They had to clear tangled messes of wire, shattered poles, and building debris. They worked around the clock in freezing temperatures, driven by the urgent need to restore light, heat, and communication. Slowly, miraculously, the city began to flicker back to life. A few days after the explosion, a temporary power line was connected to one of the hospitals, allowing surgeons to work more effectively. This was a major milestone, a small beacon of hope in the darkness. Bit by bit, street by street, power was restored to different parts of the city. Each newly lit street lamp was a symbol of resilience and a victory against the chaos. The restoration of the Telegraph was just as crucial. It allowed the city to coordinate the massive relief effort that was pouring in from around the world. Boston, in a gesture of solidarity that is remembered to this day, sent a relief train packed with doctors, nurses, and supplies within hours of hearing the news. The Halifax Explosion power failure was a brutal lesson in the fragility of modern infrastructure. It showed that the systems we rely on every day can vanish in an instant. But more importantly, it revealed the incredible strength of the human spirit. In the face of unimaginable devastation and in the literal dark, the people of Halifax and the workers who came to their aid didn't give up. They rescued their neighbors, cared for the injured, and began the long, arduous process of rebuilding. They proved that a community's true power doesn't come from wires and generators, but from the will and compassion of its people. Today, Halifax is a vibrant, modern city once again. But the memory of 1917 is woven into its fabric. And every year, as a thank you for the immediate help they sent, the province of Nova Scotia sends a giant Christmas tree to the city of Boston, a beautiful symbol of light and hope born from a moment of absolute darkness. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story of resilience as compelling as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more chapters from history. See you next time.